Hey, what's up, you guys? Hey, it's your old pal Kevin again. Kevin Schmidt, physical therapist, bike fitter, and owner and founder of out here in Portland, Oregon at Pedal PT. Want to get on here a little bit today. Want to talk a little bit about saddle issues. Seeing a lot of folks with a lot of different saddle troubles. Meeting a lot of people that have had many different saddles, tried many different saddles. You've probably heard about saddle libraries, where you can basically go in there, try out 25 different saddles, pick the one that's best for you. So what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about saddles. I want to talk about saddle pain, and ultimately kind of want to come to the conclusion and educate you guys a little bit more on the fact of most of the time, maybe I shouldn't say most of the time, probably 60 to 70% of the time, it's probably not the saddle's fault. I think we generally will feel pain in the undercarriage or in that saddle area, and we automatically want to blame the saddle. I think we also have to realize too is that saddle has to be positioned correctly for it to feel good. What do I mean by that? So let's say you invested a lot of money and you got a 3D printed saddle based on your hindquarters. You did an MRI, everything is perfect anatomically speaking. This saddle is made specifically for you. There are brands out there that do that, heat molding, adjustability, perfect for you. Now, the trouble is those saddles can still cause pain. I know, it's surprising. The reason is if a saddle is, let's say, too high, saddle height itself. So we put the saddle on. If the saddle is way too high, so if a rider is too high on a saddle, you will then look at them from the back and their hips will be rocking from back and forth. And the reason they do that is at the bottom of that pedal stroke, they're reaching and reaching and reaching at the bottom of that pedal stroke. What that does on that saddle is it causes you to saw back and forth on that saddle. The more we saw on that, the more we start developing friction and pain in the saddle. So again, this isn't the saddle's fault. It's just too high. So it doesn't matter what saddle you try. You might try 45 different saddles. They're all going to feel terrible if you're too high on the saddle. So again, sometimes it's not the saddle, it's more so the positioning of it. I think that is a key piece because the amount of bike fitters and the amount of people that are in bike shops that I see talk about saddles and that we have all these saddles to choose from, they make it sound as if as long as you have the right saddle, everything's going to be fine. Come try this one. This one's costs $400. Let's sell you this. It really comes into more positioning, sometimes versus saddle shape, which I think is going to probably get people, some people that sell saddles for a living maybe upset. But the key is if that saddle's not positioned correctly, it can still cause pain. Number two is if the saddle is nose down or vice versa, too much nose up. We have to get the tilt correct as well. If you tend to be nose down, obviously nose down, you're going to slide on that. And the more you slide on that, again, you're going to cause friction. You're going to cause torque and stretch on that sensitive tissue underneath there. Combine that with repetition, combine that with some perspiration. Now you've got a perfect recipe for saddle pain, saddle sores, all kinds of issues. Again, not the saddle's fault. The problem is it's nose down, or if it's too nose up, then you'd get that nose jamming into sensitive areas. If the saddle's too high and your nose up, you've got the combination to cause all kinds of tingling, numbness, and other kind of problems, even urinary tract issues with a saddle as well. So the key thing that I want to take from this is that yes, a saddle and the shape of the saddle, the width of the saddle are important. But I think the thing that never is talked about is that we have to also control height of saddle, nose up, down, especially, and then fore and aft as well. If those things are not right, you can still get saddle pain. So it's not the saddle's fault. It more so lies in the person who's adjusting it, the quality of that bike fitter, and their understanding of kind of the body and how we sit on a saddle. Generally speaking, we want a level saddle because ultimately as we sit into that, it creates a little bit of a hammock effect. When we hold ourselves in that saddle, we want to be able to lock the pelvis down. If we're sliding back and forth, if we're too high rocking on that saddle, we can't lock our pelvis down, so each pedal stroke is not the same. And when that happens, we shift around and we wiggle around. The more wiggle on that saddle, the more chances of saddle pain, saddle sores, tingling, numbness, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess this kind of comes into is make sure you get the appropriate width. That's key. We can do that with sitting bone width. We can take a look at a variety of things. or just get your saddle positioned by a reputable bike fitter that you know you're in the right position. You're not too high. The tilt is correct. The fore and aft is correct. Once you have those things kind of dialed in and the saddle still feels terrible, that would be my time where I would say, let's start experimenting with different saddles. Most of the time, if you're having saddle problems in that case that I just referred to, a lot of times the key is to go wider saddle. That'd be the idea. So those are some generalized idea. I know when we talk about saddles and saddle pain, it is kind of like Pandora's box. There's so many variables, there's so many issues there, but I think the purpose of this video is I just want to really kind of say is, can we stop blaming the saddle already? It's not always the saddle's fault. Oftentimes it's the positioning of it, which is kind of how like most cycling equipment is. If we don't have it positioned right, it's still going to hurt. Doesn't mean it's bad or it's not right for us. It just has to be appropriately adjusted by someone who understands kind of how our body behaves, the appropriate kind of positioning, and how we want to be on that saddle during our pedaling. So I hope this was helpful for you. If you do have questions though, of course, that's what the comments are for. So please leave a comment. Also, continue to keep sending me those messages, guys, questions. I'll get to them as I can. We've been so busy at the clinic, so I just haven't had a chance to kind of knock out a few of these videos. But it's your questions that keep this channel going. So let's keep it going. I appreciate all the support. And otherwise, have a great rest of your day. Get out there and ride, guys. And we'll see you soon, all right? Take care. Cheers.